Hello, this is Mr. David with our last lesson about World War I. 1917 was a very bad year for the Allied powers. In April of that year was a terrible month, very bad month for the British ships. They had many ships sunk by submarines, the most in that month. Germany attacked Russia. Russia was one of the Allied powers. In Russia, there were problems also. The Bolsheviks, who would become communists later, they got rid of the Tsar. He was like the king of Russia. So he was gone. So they had problems in Russia in that year. The French tried to attack Germany, but that failed. That was bad for France. The British also were trying to attack, and they lost many men. Many soldiers were killed. Germany attacked Italy, and Italy lost the northern part of its country. All this was won by Germany. And by 1918, the Bolshevik army quit the war. So they were out of the war. So it was a very bad year for the Allied powers. But remember, in April 1917, America entered the war. America's military was not very big at that time. 200,000 people. So in May, the government started the Selective Service Act, also called the draft. This meant that the government could make people enter the military. So that made the military much bigger. Also, there were 2 million volunteers that joined. Volunteers joined because they wanted to, not because the government made them join. They wanted to help America. So military size grew to 4.5 million people. Something that was good at getting people to volunteer were recruiting posters. The word recruiting comes from the word recruit, which is to ask people to do something, like join the military. Enlist is also a word that you see on these posters. Here are some of the posters that were used to recruit people. In 1917, there was no internet or television, so posters were very good at getting messages to people. So with this big army, the big military, the United States had what was called an American Expeditionary Force. That comes from the word expedition, which means a trip or a journey. And the leader of that army that traveled on this expedition to go fight was General Pershing. So with the help of the American military, the war came to an end. There was an armistice, which means that both sides agree to stop fighting. And finally, on November 11th, 1918, the war ended.